Thanks for joining us on Tandem Radio for a very special segment, By Design, focused on helping you understand how God designed you so that you may be healthy and productive in fulfilling God's purposes in your life for many years to come. Now let's join our host, health expert and public speaker, Dr. James Prudian.
Welcome to the By Design radio program. My name is Dr. James Prudian of Prudian Healthcare and PrudianHealthcare.com, where health literacy is the key to longevity. And as long as God has us on this side of eternity, my show is designed to educate you and your families to feel better, to function better, and live as many quality, disease-free years as possible. I'm really excited about today's show. It's a second part of a topic called a new healthcare model. Now, the new healthcare model, this is part two. We started part one last week and got some good feedback on it. Is basically looking at us at the end of the year here, taking apart the current healthcare model and saying to ourselves, why is it so broken? Okay, there are some great statistics that I've shared with you, and we all know that we've got a problem with our current healthcare system. But for pushing the blame down the road a little bit as to what the problem is, let's really focus the show, like we talked about last week, on our personal responsibility of taking back our health. That's from a physical, a nutritional, and psychological perspective. What are the things that we're going to go do? For the show is based upon this Bible verse, Luke 1:37, for with God nothing is impossible. Let's never forget that. So as whatever stage of health, age, sex, race that you are, with the help of God and the grace of God in the healthcare field, we can go take back our health by becoming better educated on some simple methodology. I shared the Apple story with you last week, that Apple has done an amazing job of advertising just how simple their products are. And I look at healthcare the same way. You guys aren't going to be diving into health journals and reading the double-blind studies. That's my job. And when you look at what's happening out there, the healthcare system is so complicated for you, the user. Have you ever been to a hospital? I was just talking recently to a friend of mine who was telling me about his 90-year-old grandmother who had to go to the hospital, and just the amount of incompetence in the communication between the hospital and the family. And these stories happen every day. And I'm not here to point fingers or blame anyone. We just have a system that is just overly burdened and basically broken at its core. And we have to look at ways to take better care of ourselves, because at the end of the day, prevention is what is critical. And that's what the new healthcare model is based upon. So remember, negative people make positive people sick. So as we take back our health, we want to, have to digest negative people, but push back that negative energy that people are telling you, oh, you can't do this or you can't do that. Because once again, for with God, nothing is impossible. And we ended the show last week about nutrient-dense foods. And I told you, in your kitchen or as you go shopping, we're going to look at food, whether it's nutrient-dense like organic broccoli, or basically something that has no nutritional value like white bread. Remember, bread comes from wheat. Wheat is brown. So somebody, his name is Bob, had to somehow manufacture brown wheat to make it white to deliver you white bread. So white bread is something that it does not have nutritional density. So here's a little kind of visual for you. When my parents came, or grandparents, I should say, came from Armenia, about 100 years ago. When you think back to those old videotapes of black and white videotape of people that age, poor people were skinny. Why is it that so many socioeconomically challenged people today, poorer people, are obese and overweight? Well, for the last 50 to 70 years, we've fed nutrient non-dense foods that have hardly any nutritional value, to poorer socioeconomic people. Those are white bread, things made from corn, which is a grain, sugar, and starch. So they're filling up on foods that have no nutritional value, which makes you obese. So it's really a model over the last 100 years of how man-made food has intervened and has basically overtaken 90% of the American food diet is basically man-made, manufactured starch and sugar, a lot of it from corn and genetically modified food. So when I use these tools to teach, I want you to take that tool and say, well, I'm going to do something different. This stuff is in front of us all day, but we want to eat nutrient-dense foods that are good for us. Now, as I ended my show last week, I was about to tell you, nutrient-dense foods can also be very bad for us. The worst nutrient-dense food is something like ice cream, because ice cream is very dense in milk, sugar, and sugar. So the density of something like a small bowl of ice cream is very bad for us. Cheese is the same kind of way because it's very dense with the amount of fat and bad sugar, whereas something like broccoli is nutrient dense of the very good things. So as you shop and you look at the foods that you're eating, we're going to look at the good nutrient dense foods. For instance, if we look at kale, which is an amazing superfood, which has cancer-fighting properties and wonderful for GI system, gastrointestinal system. These types of foods are nutrient dense. So here is this healthcare system. Now we're going to get back to the healthcare system. And a while ago, I did a show on healthcare versus sick care. Now, healthcare means that we're going to prevent illness before it happens. Right now, 10% of all healthcare costs are related to obesity, and it's going to 20%. So as that's not only should frighten you, it should also frighten our wallet and our pocketbooks, because that means that 10% of healthcare costs are due to obesity. It's going to 20%. Now, healthcare is designed to prevent the obesity, whereas sick care, is designed to treat the disease when we actually get it. I heard a prominent doctor recently on national TV say that statin drugs, which are cholesterol-lowering medication, are a great form of preventative medicine. And I really sat back in my chair and said, wow, millions of people just learned that statin drugs are preventative medicine. Now, I take issue with that. I'm not anti-statin drugs, but I'm certainly someone in clinical practice that could tell you if you want to reduce cholesterol is something that can be reduced by non-medical means most of the time. So in the case of looking at who we're taking our advice from, how do we live under the sick care model? Think about the sick care model we live in. Sick care means that we get a disease, that's when we focus on it, and our system is designed to manage sick people. Give you an example. When someone gets diabetes, they wait for the diagnosis. They get the diagnosis, you have type 2 diabetes. Then they're told to eat more frequent, smaller meals. So we give people the advice when they get the disease instead of what's the advice along the way to prevent disease. So our system is really focused on disease management. But the model that we're talking about, this new healthcare model, we have to be careful where we're taking our advice from. Now, do you take your advice from a healthcare provider or a sick care provider? This new layer of healthcare, is going to look at our sick care providers for our yearly annual physicals, for the God forbids, we have a heart attack, we break a leg, we need a neurosurgeon to make decisions about a loved one in a millisecond. Yes, thank God we have a sick care system filled with highly trained, highly technical people who their very job is designed to save our lives in many cases. But healthcare is a bit different. Now, when we think about who are the healthcare providers out there, they're the ones, and I'm going to go through a list of things either this show or next show based upon what are the criteria for a new healthcare provider, a new healthcare doctor, the type of doctors that think not in a single dimensional way. They're multidimensional. They're thinking about the whole person. Yet, if I had a heart attack tragically right now, I would only want that cardiologist thinking about one thing, and that is my heart and to save my life. So our sick care system has its place, and in certain cases, it's the best on the planet. But like I said in my earlier show, we have the right to drink as much soda as we want. But is it right? We have the right to live our lives and make decisions for ourselves, but our decisions have to be built on a system of knowing, is this someone I should be taking health care advice, preventative advice from, or is this somebody that I should be seeing for my sick care. And be very careful about this healthcare thing, because there's many people out there who have good intentions but aren't necessarily trained in the field of preventative medicine, true preventative medicine. So as we look at this new model, what does this doctor look like? We go to our medical providers, we go to our various people who have initials after their name. The new doctor I could describe, or a doctor I could describe, as this, and this is a quote from Adelle Davis, one of my favorite nutritionists. She said, "As I see it, every day we do one of two things. We either build health or we produce disease in yourself." And every day, as you wake up and you're making those decisions around the house of how to feed your children, what are we going to do tonight to avoid stress, how do we engage in healthy exercise behaviors, think about preventing disease, not waiting for the disease to happen to get it treated. Don't wait for the osteoporosis and a bad T-score on a bone scan to say, oh, now I have to go treat my osteoporosis. Let's not wait for the disease process to set in. I certainly don't want anyone listening to me to wait for the diagnosis of type 2 diabetes. Catch it early. Know how to identify it early with the healthcare providers that you're seeing, so that we can take back our health one family at a time. And a new healthcare model requires individual participation. That means us. We cannot be passive. We must be proactive, and we cannot be reactionary. We can't just react to the situation. We have to be proactive to understanding that it's our health that we've been blessed with, and our health, just like our financial health. We have all of the guys out there. We have financial plans and 529 plans for our kids and life insurance and all of this stuff. What is your health care plan? Moving into next year, what plan do you have for your health and your family? Thank you very much for listening to the By Design radio program and me, Dr. James Prudien. If you'd like any more information, go to prudienhealthcare.com and you can submit any questions to me. Have a blessed week, and tune in for next week's show, which will be part 3. Thank you.
You've been listening to By Design with Dr. James Prudien of Prudien Healthcare. To learn more, visit us at tandemradio.com, that's tandemradio.com, or on Facebook. And don't forget to email us with your questions. We'd love to hear from you. In the meantime, hope you have a healthy week, and we look forward to you joining us next time for more fantastic insights from Dr. James Prudien on By Design, a special production of Tandem Radio.